It's 4 p.m. We're bringing you developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Patrick Paez.
And I'm Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Tuesday, May 14. The second civilian mission to Scarborough Shoal departs tomorrow, and the Atin voyage will continue to sail in the event of shadowing from Chinese vessels. Should any boat from Beijing issue a radio challenge, only Chief Convener Rafael David is allowed to respond. In case of blocking maneuvers against Philippine ships, participants will take their cue from the Philippine Coast Guard. The Atin mission has 3 goals. Number 1, do the regatta. Number 2, place the buoys. And number 3, distribute food and fuel supplies to fishermen and other frontliners. The Global Times, a newspaper under the Chinese Communist Party, accused Atin of engaging in a, and we quote, fresh round of provocations with its civilian convoy to Scarborough Shoal or Bajo de Masinloc. It also accused the group of using Filipino fishermen as, and we also quote, human shields in a publicity stunt to win international sympathy. Meanwhile, the group Media Unlocked, which claims to be made up of China-based journalists, claims Philippines will, and we quote again, stage a conflict in Bajo de Masinloc. Filipino fishermen will supposedly deliberately fall into the water and provoke the Chinese Coast Guard in the area.
And the Commission on Elections warns that Bamban Mayor Alex Go could face perjury charges if she is found to have misrepresented herself by submitting fake documents. COMELEC accepted Go's certificate of candidacy in 2022 since no one questioned it. Meanwhile, the Senators received Go's COC as part of their investigation on her alleged connection to an illegal Chinese gambling site in Bamban, Tarlac.
And joining us today, Amy Pamintuan, the editor-chief of the Philippine Star. Amy, magandang hapon. Kumusta dyan sa Paranaque?
Nag-umpisa ng umulan. Happy Wednesday.
And also joining us from Zambales.
All over the country, nag-umpisa ng tagulan.
Yes, and also Amy, joining us from Zambales.
Wet season.
Joining us from Zambales live, it's Gretchen Ho.
Yeah.
She's there in Zambales to join the Atin regatta to Bajo de Masinloc. So I think we should start with Gretchen. Gretchen,
yes.
Kasi sayang yung live signal mo. Tell us where you are right now. Are you anywhere near the port?
Magandang hapon sa inyo, Patrick, Ed, Amy. Dito tayo ngayon sa isang tuluyan kung saan magsistay yung buong civilian convoy bago maglayag bukas papunta sa Bajo de Masinloc. So now what's happening is that the press con is done and that they're raffling off the names that will ride the 5 large boats where the media will be in, accompanied by 100 small fishing vessels. So 5 lang yan, around 200 people will be joining the civilian convoy. At yun nga, kanina sinasabi ko, kahit may konting kaba over what's going to happen because of reports of Chinese sending its largest blockade ever to meet this civilian convoy, medyo kalmado naman ang atmosphere dito because of the contingency planning also of the Atin coalition. If you remember, back in the civilian convoy in December, parang nataranta yung kapitan nung nagsashadow na yung Chinese vessels. But this time, the Atin coalition says they are much more prepared. They have responses for everything that may happen out sea, and that safety is their utmost priority. Hindi naman daw nila ilalagay sa pahamak yung mga sibilyan na kasama natin dito. Although, they know that Chinese vessels are underway, 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels, 26 maritime militia vessels to be exact. They remain undeterred and that they will press forward with the peaceful voyage. And last night, may lumabas na report, actually hindi report, may lumabas na social media video saying that this is going to be a staging of a play by Philippine media and a Philippine NGO. As to the response to that of Atin coalition, sabi ni Rafaela David, that is not just absurd but also desperate. These are attempts to malign legitimate activities of ordinary citizens in our own EEZ. What they're saying is as fictitious as their NineDash Line. Katulad nung kung gaano ka strong no statement na yon, ganoon din ang willpower ng mga tao dito na tumuloy sa kanilang biyahe kahit na medyo kabado dahil we are riding smaller fishing vessels this time around.
Gretchen Tineras, are you free to discuss with us kung ano ang balak gawin ng civilian convoy for every possible step taken by the Chinese Coast Guard? For example, kung harangan, kung magpaandar ng water cannon, and so on down the line. Are you free to discuss the responses being planned by Atin to?
I think because they discussed it with me, I think it should be okay. But they have been keeping this under wraps. Ngayon ko lang nalaman kasi over the past days, they've been hiding what they're going to do kasi nga out of safety reasons. But wala naman ng balak na pumunta doon sa 12 nautical mile red line nung Bajo de Masinloc where things get a little bit more dangerous, water cannoning, ramming incidents, total destruction. Yun ang scenario setting of the Philippine Coast Guard that was given to them. Wala naman daw silang balak pumunta doon sa 12 nautical miles na yun. Between 12 to 20 nautical miles, this is where aggressive and dangerous maneuvers usually happen. And between 30 to 40 nautical miles away from Bajo, that is where the shadowing and radio challenges happen. Yun nga lang ang expectation nila dito, baka mas maaga mangyari yung aggressive and dangerous maneuvers dahil in the latest report this morning from Ray Powell of Sea Light, mukhang flanking left, right, middle side yung Chinese vessels. So they are also preparing for a lot of blocking maneuvers by the Chinese vessels. As to what is going to happen and what the response will be, pag shadowing daw, dire-diretso lamang. Dire-diretso lamang yung civilian convoy. Hindi katulad nung una natin, December Bok, umikot kagad yung kapitan. Pero ito ang instruction. Pag nag-shadow ang Chinese vessels, dire-diretso lang. Pag ni-radio challenge na, sasagutin ng isang tao lang, and that will be Rafaela David, the commander of the civilian convoy. And when the third step will be evasion. Pag nandiyan na yung blocking maneuvers, they will wait for the cue of the Philippine Coast Guard when to turn back. So, sabi nila, ang goal lang naman is the 30 to 40 nautical mile away from Bajo de Masinloc. And reaching that area will not be the main objective of this convoy. Dahil sa kanila, if they are able to do the regatta, that's number one, able to place the symbolic markers such as the buoys and distribute food and supplies, that will be already considered a successful mission.
Okay, it's quite clear. Gretchen, how large is the media contingent that will be joining the regatta?
Again, sir?
How large is the media contingent that will be joining the regatta? Do we have members of the foreign media also joining?
Ang sinasabi sa atin, there will be 50 members of the media joining this convoy, about 50 volunteers, to add to that, so 100. But the crew, the fishing crew, will amount to about 10 to 20 per boat. So that will be 100. So 100 plus 100, 200. Okay. And there will be international observers. So there is a Swedish, the Swedish guy, Japanese, Indonesian, and Sri Lankan. Yung Swedish at saka Indonesian, they are members of social movements back home. They say that they will observe what's going to happen. They will take a look at it themselves so they can file accurate reports from their own points of view and not from the Philippine contingent. Kasi nga yun sabi nila, ito yung bago na aspeto ng civilian convoy. Let's invite international observers in and have them see and assess what really goes on out there.
Actually, maganda rin sa may
mukhang
Chinese
scenario na inaasahan ng China na merong mga Pilipino na will end up in the sea. Meron ba kayong dalang mga life vest? Ano yung mga protective equipment na kasama ng buong contingent, yung media and the regatta itself?
Nako, Ami, yun nga yung una kong tinanong pagpunta ko dito, meron ba kayong life vest na ibibigay sa lahat ng sasama? At sabi naman, 1:1. Kanina we saw them unpacking already. There were numbers on the life vest. So I guess one life vest will be assigned to one person. But definitely, apart from the life vest, I don't know what other safety measures that they have placed in case meron yang pero there are there are 5 doctors with this mission. 1 doctor each boat will join, and they're also prepared for whatever is going to happen pagka may nasugatan, pagka may nalunod, even seasickness, they're already looking out for that. So mukhang yun ang nakikita kong safety measures dito. It's the life vest and the doctors who are joining the mission.
Okay, Gretchen, Atin, well, the Global Times, Chinese daily, and also the China Daily, is accusing Atin ito of being funded by the United States. I understand you're there with Rafaela David. Do they have a reaction to this accusation?
To be honest with you, I was outside the press con, but I'll get back on that. They did say that the accusations were absurd, but were not just absurd, but also desperate in attempts to malign the legitimate activities of ordinary citizens. They're saying that what they're aiming for here is a peaceful solidarity regatta. So I have to get back with you on those accusations that this is U.S. Government funded and Philippine government funded, but they have been saying all throughout this is a civilian-led mission. Kung sa totoo nga lang ayaw ng gobyerno na gawin nila ito because kumbaga magkakagulo pa o malalagay yung buhay ng mga tao sa alanganin, but they have been consistent in saying that this is 100% civilian-led. It's a civilian movement, and the aim is to civilianize the area and to demilitarize Bajo de Masinloc.
Well, the other allegation, of course, by China is that this is a deliberate provocation. It is an unnecessary provocation daw by the Philippine side to try to get China to look like the bad guy. Among the allegations, of course, nasabi ng China is that, I saw some of the earlier videos, hindi raw talaga fishermen yung ibang pinapapunta dyan para supposedly magkunwaring fishermen. Number two, hindi naman daw kailangan talaga magpunta dyan para mag-distribute ng supplies. These among other allegations by China.
Well, there are questions also from the Atin Ito coalition as to why we can't sail in our own EEZ. If you think about it, sabi nga nila, kung pupunta tayo doon, bakit nga ba natin kailangan magpaalam pa? If you're going to Boracay, if you're going on a vacation somewhere, why aren't you free to do that? And that is what exactly they're standing for in this civilian convoy, the right to navigate through our waters, the freedom to sail through our seas, and also to defend the rights of our fishermen. What they have been saying is, alam naman natin may dispute doon sa Bajo de Masinloc. Oo, may dispute doon, pero wag naman sana gumamit ng dahas para itaboy ang ating mga mangingisda. Because as we know that in the 2016 arbitral ruling, we have been granted fishing rights in Bajo de Masinloc. This is considered a traditional fishing ground, apart from the area around it being part of our EEZ.
Okay.
Gretchen, what's the general mood, if you can sense it, among the Atin Ito members? Is it more of apprehension or are they gung-ho? Ano
Actually,
yung sense mo sa kanila at this point?
Ngayon, parang nararamdaman ko medyo mas prepared na yung mga tao kumpara nung unang civilian convoy back in December, because nung time na yun parang excited na excited, and then bigla nila ganun ang emosyon, bigla na lang bumaba nung bumalik. This time it's much more tempered. The emotions are much more tempered. People are excited, but people are also ready for what's going to happen. Na sinasabi ng iba, nako, tingin ko mas ma-action ito kasi nga mas maraming Chinese vessels ang darating. Iba yung sitwasyon sa Bajo de Masinloc bilang kumbaga parang doon pa lang sa vicinity ng Bajo de Masinloc Kapag lumapit ka na doon, ang dami na nakaharang at yun nga kumbaga parang mas close encounter. Mas malaki yung chance kasi doon sa Ayungin, malayo pa lang, shadowing pa lang, parang nataranta na lahat, hindi na alam man ang gagawin. Parang first time makakita ng Chinese Coast Guard. This time around, we see volunteers coming back, familiar faces. Father Robert Reyes is here. We see from Akbayan, of course, different indigenous peoples represented. They are back here also. Pero nadagdagan pa yung contingent and of representatives from different civil society groups.
Ako pa lang, Bok. If I got you right, the main target is to get at least 2/3 of the way to Bajo de Masinloc. Not to get all the way there, 2/3 of the way, meaning
Yes.
40 nautical miles from Bajo de Masinloc. Kasi that's 120 nautical miles from Zambales to Bajo. So, yan lang talaga ang pinaka-maximum na gusto nilang gawin. Hindi sila sana
Yan ang sabi sa atin.
walang balak
Yan ang
magpilit.
sabi sa atin, Bo. Oo.
To get
So,
all the way there.
ang mangyayari bukas ay pupunta sa 20 nautical miles zone away from Masinloc. That is already part of our EEZ.
Yeah. Lagpas na ng
Doon maglalagay ng boya with the Atin ito. They have lunch with the fishermen. They're going to distribute fuel and food supplies to the fishermen there. And then after that, a long journey is expected because you're going to have to travel about 90 nautical miles, 80 to 90 nautical miles to get to the vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc. That will take overnight. Yun nga lang yung medyo delikado, Bok, ano? Kasi gabi mangyayari yung biyahe na yon. And as we know, there are vessels that are in the dark or cannot be identified on the AIS system. And that is actually what's dangerous. Our friend Goyo Larazabal also pointed out that they almost hit a maritime militia vessel. Sinasabi nila, bantayan ninyo itong maritime militia vessel dahil sila yung mas delikado because if they hit your fishing boat, they will have, I guess, yung liability nila is in the gray zone because they are not part of the Chinese Coast Guard. They are supposed to be private fishing vessels. So yun daw yung kailangan bantayan. At yun din, ang pinangangambahan dito, yung biyahe na yun na malayo. Bukod sa expected na dadating doon sa Bajo de Masinloc area around 6 a.m. on Thursday.
Okay. Gretchen, I saw your
Gretchen, where
interview
you are
last
now,
night
may
with...
nakikita ka na bang Philippine Navy presence? Kasi may announcement ngayon na magpapadala daw ng kahit isa lang yata na parang magbabantay lang. Hindi naman exactly escort pero magbabantay na one Navy vessel.
Okay, at kung nasan po ako ngayon, medyo nasa gubat tayo, wala pa tayo sa sea. Hindi pa tayo nakakapunta ron kasi medyo busy ang media rito. Pero tatanungin natin yan. Ang nababalitaan ko lang ay yung sigurado ay yung 44-meter vessel, yung si BRP Bagakay ng Philippine Coast Guard. They have been requesting for more PCG vessels, kahit isa pa. And then there's another BFAR vessel na tinatry nilang kunin. Pero there are also protocols around that, which vessels you send. The Philippine Navy, we will ask that question later on about reinforcement. But they are quite, they're quite careful about the presence of Philippine Coast Guard and Philippine Navy ships because the Philippine government is stressing that this is civilian-led. This is a civilian mission. And sabi nga ni NSC ADG Jonathan Malaya, kung po pwede payagan ng China, urging China to allow this civilian mission to happen. Because we do know that Bajo de Masinloc has been seized by the Chinese since the 2012 standoff.
Okay. Gretchen, I was watching your interview last night with Goy Larazabal, and I understand that there are two Chinese Coast Guard ships more or less permanently stationed at the mouth of the reef in Bajo de Masinloc, right? So
Correct.
is this the
That's
reason
what,
why...
he said yesterday. And yun nga, parang basta ang kwentuhan dito is sa totoo lang, kung fishermen lang, kilala na nung Chinese Coast Guard, nung mga nagpapatrolya doon, yung mukha ng mga mangingisda. Pag nagkakaroon ng media, doon medyo pinag-iinitan itong mga vessels na lumalapit sa Bajo de Masinloc. So, siguro isa yun sa mga dahilan kaya hindi na magpupumilit na lumapit because they don't want it to reach water cannoning level. They have been saying, hindi naman natin hinahangad yan na ma-water cannon tayo, so hanggang dito lang tayo because what we want is for everybody to be safe. So, hopefully it doesn't get to that because yun nga, parang na-identify naman na yung water cannoning happens in the 12 nautical mile vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc.
Yung escort yung BRP Bagakay, yan yung tinamaan ng water cannon recently na na UP yung railings.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
yun ang magiging escort niyo kung sakali. Huling tanong, pahabol na lang. Magmula kahapon ba nung in-announce, o nagparamdam ang China na ano na na may conspiracy daw, tapos malalaglag yung mga fishermen sa tubig deliberately and all that. May mga nag-atrasan ba sa mga media na magko-cover diyan? May mga nag-U-turn ba?
Naku, Bok, parang medyo marami-rami ang magko-cover na lang mula sa land.
Mula sa
I'm
land.
hearing about parang 12 to 15 members of the media will be reporting from land. Siyempre tayo ay maglalayag tayo. Pero yun nga, parang magkahalo. Kasi yung iba, first time, no, nasasakay kasama ng papunta sa West Philippine Sea. So they're quite apprehensive also with the size of the boats. Kanina pinapakita sa atin ng isang colleague natin yung video na parang ito lang yung bangka, ito lang yung CR, parang toilet lang inidoro doon sa ano. Pag yung iba, they do their business doon sa side ng boats in front, in full view of everyone. I
Parang
guess
preskon.
all those come into play, the rough waters, the small boats, and the proper amount of contingencies. Everybody has their risk level that they could take. So merong mga members of the media who will be reporting from land, at sinasabi rin kasi nila baka ang signal ay medyo mahirap out sea. Ang sinasabi naman sa atin ng atin ito coalition, mas mabagal yung takbo ng mga bangka. So they expect the Starlinks to work. Hopefully it does.
Actually, ang bangkit ni Goyo kagabi, no, sa The Big Story is that he was able to bring his Starlink on that banka, on a fishing banka, and they were able to contact, the fishermen were able to contact their families in the middle, somewhere in the vicinity
but they
of
were,
Bao de
they were
Masinloc.
at a standstill.
Yeah.
They were stationary
Right.
when the Starlink worked. So yun ang medyo mahirap lang, Patrick, kapag yung Starlink nasa dagat at gumagalaw, spotty yan eh. Parang kailangan subok ka na subok hanggang sa mag-connect ka. Papasok siya, bigla mawawala. Depende na yan sa speed ng boat. I think nasa ano yan eh. You have to be below 8 knots
8.5
for
knots.
it to work. So we will definitely do our best for that to happen out there in the seas. But you're right, yung para sa mga mangingisda, malaking bagay na makapag-connect sila because we found out that marami sa mga asawa ng mga mangingisda ay OFW because nga of yung effects on their fish catch. Their wives have had to go abroad to pursue livelihood there to be able to aid what has been lost here in Zambales.
Okay.
Okay. Bok, ingat kayo bukas at balitaan mo kami kung ano,
Baka matuloy na,
Yeah.
Gretch, baka matuloy na yung freedom to broadcast nyo this time around.
The real deal, huh?
ingat
Be
kayo.
careful.
We'll definitely aim for
Gretchen.
that. I hope to talk to you again
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yes. Hope to talk to you. Hope to hear from you.
You hope to hear from you.
And see you. Better yet, see you. No? Should be exciting. And ingat, Gretch.
Yes.
Okay, live from
Thank you,
Zambales,
Gretchen.
Ms. Gretchen Ho. You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group. We've got the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference.
I'm at Lingao. Also with us, Amy Pamintuan, the editor-in-chief of the Philippine Star. Okay. And this time we have the Coast Guard spokesman on the line, but
wait.
hindi pa naman eh.
I think we have to ask,
Yeah.
is the Coast Guard on the line?
Parang wala
Not
pa.
yet. Okay.
Oh.
This is the time when we ask Amy,
Wala pa.
ano banner ng Philippine Star bukas? Yeah.
Siyempre, yung akin, ito pa rin. Pero may sinabi ang Department of Justice no, related to that, na pinag-aaralan daw nila options about yung mga pagtatambak ng mga dead corals sa Sabina, sa Escoda, nagpadala nga ng warship para bantayan daw yun at matigil kung ano man yung ginagawa ron. I guess the options they are considering yung mga to bring a case before the International Tribunal kung saan man yon for environmental destruction. So yan ang inaabangan natin.
Didn't we
And
have that
yung
already before?
nag-uumpisa na yung
Case build-up.
mag-uumpisa na yung hulihan, the separate story. Mag-uumpisa na yung hulihan ng mga kolorum related to the PUVMP. Nag-iintay pa rin sila. Umaasa pa rin ng TRO from the Supreme Court, pero wala, pina-comment lang sila ngayon Ngayon pa lang pumapasok yung story. Ang hiningi lang ng Supreme Court, mag-comment yung LTO, yung LTFRB. So, mukhang walang TRO. Yan.
So ano?
Baka interesado ka, yung case ni Chita Stella. Nagkaroon ng conviction,
Talaga?
Yung dalawang,
yung driver?
napakatagal, 2011 pa.
Okay.
Yung dalawang driver. So I'm waiting for the details dyan kung
Konting
bakit
background.
ganun katagal.
Si Chit kasi na-aksidente, nabangga yung taxi
Yes.
niya dyan sa
Taxi niya.
Commonwealth.
Well, let's backtrack a bit.
I'm sorry.
Chit Estela
Commonwealth.
is...
Chit Estela,
Yeah.
dating
Chit
reporter
Estela.
ng Malaya, naging editor sa Manila Times.
At kasama natin sa
Malacanang Press Corps. And then
diba?
eventually napunta sa Vera Files. It's an
Yes.
independent group that publishes online. She was also teaching dun sa UP College of Mass Communications, I think at that time. Nasa
Yes.
Commonwealth ba yun? Commonwealth yun, di ba? Commonwealth. Yeah.
Commonwealth.
Oo,
Nag-U-turn
nakasakay.
yung taxi dun sa
Kataxi siya.
Tapos, nakataxi, tinamaan ng isang bus. Tapos, tinamaan pa rin ng isa pang bus. So, dalawang bus ang tumama.
Mm.
Kaya ganon.
And she died.
Yeah.
She died on the
Pero ang
spot.
tagal And because of that case, biglang nagkaroon ng speed limit sa Commonwealth Avenue
Yeah.
na
I remember
60
now.
kilometers
60
per hour.
kph.
Yun ang pinanggalingan nun.
Okay, this happened
Kaya
about
saka
a
tinanggalingan
decade,
tayo ikutan na yun
2011.
a decade ago.
No.
More than a decade
Yeah.
ago.
13 years
Ang
ago.
tagal.
Okay, and
Sobrang tagal,
there's already a decision on the case.
Yeah. I mean, you were saying it was a conviction, tama ba, of the two drivers?
Conviction, 2 drivers. Hinihintay ko pa yung detalye. Conviction of the 2 drivers, so I'm presuming na yung dalawang bus driver.
Ano to, homicide or ano?
Homicide yan through reckless imprudence.
Reckless imprudence.
Oo. Pero wala pa akong detalye Pero usually kapag ganyang accident lang naman Pero ang bilis-bilis talaga, sandaling-sandali kumalat ka agad yung balita na wala na nga, she passed away.
Yeah. Okay. Sige.
Yan.
Sige.
Nandyan na ba yung
Hihintay lang tayo. Well, pinag-usapan na natin kanina, Ed, reading this article by the Global Times, which is
Yes.
a newspaper under the Chinese Communist Party. No,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
linked to People's Daily.
English paper nila.
Okay, exciting.
Para sa international
Ang interesting
consumption
sa
yan,
article nito is
Hindi
how.
kukunti lang readership niyan sa China.
But this is more or less their international mouthpiece. I mean, sorry
Yes,
for lack of a
international
better
mouthpiece
word
nila,
for using the word mouthpiece, but yeah. So this is their
Global
English
Times.
global newspaper that, more or less it reflects the policy or the position of the Chinese government, the People's Republic of China. What was interesting here, Bok, I was mentioning to you a while ago, is that they're saying that itong ginagawa ng atin ito coalition seems to be the counter strategy to the Chinese main strategy in the West Philippine Sea, yung
The gray
gray zone
zone
strategy nila. Yung the use of maritime militias,
non-military
oo,
vessels.
below the threshold of an actual
kaya nga.
war or armed violence to push to establish its claim and its position in the West Philippine
kaya
Sea.
nga.
Ngayon sinasabi
Sila
ng
lang
Global
ba may
Times,
karapatang-
ang Pilipinas, because for some time, for a few years, we didn't know how to respond to this Chinese strategy. Okay, but now itong atin to coalition, parang they're recognizing, acknowledging that may sariling strategy na nag-emerge ang Philippines at saka which is parang
saka, I think we
an
should-
equivalent of
Dapat hindi tayo pumasok dyan sa claim nila na nagpo-provoke tayo. We are asserting our claim. And the claim has been affirmed by the arbitral ruling. Sila wala namang pinangahawakan. And it's interesting that they're saying na gumagamit tayo ng peking fishermen. Sila gumagawa niyan Yung mga militia nila Yung militia boat nila talagang ano-ano ba yung mga yon? Hindi naman mukhang tunay na fishermen na. Lalaki pati ng mga barko nila.
Pero napag-usapan nga namin ni Patrick, parang we've evolved our own
Strategy.
low-intensity conflict.
yes,
Yes.
parang parang
Kaya nga.
ang countermeasure ng the Philippines at atin dito is parang to mount what you could describe as guerrilla tactics against more superior Chinese vessels. And the
Kaya
atin
nga.
ito convoys are supposedly part of that. Yun.
Parang siya
Kaya
Kaya naiinis ang China.
Oo.
Kaya I guess naiinis
parang
ang China.
pinaksipat siya may low-intensity conflict saka merong winning the hearts and minds of
Yes,
the global community.
Right, parang ganon. That's why
napakalakas naman
importante
nila ng
talaga na
armed forces nila.
nandun yung media. That's
Saka
part of
saka
it. That's
militia
part of it.
lalaban tayo asymmetrical. Okay lang, di ba?
Right, asymmetrical
At mas
talaga
may
labanan
karapatan
dyan.
naman tayo diyan. Mas may karapatan tayo. Meron tayong arbitral ruling. Sila wala naman. Yung claim nila in-invalidate na. The entire claim has been invalidated.
Tsaka-
Kaya mas may karapatan tayo mag-assert ng claim dyan.
Saka in a
And
way,
if you're saying it's a provocation, bakit sila magpapaprovoke?
And then interesting,
Kailangan
it's also
nagsasabi.
interesting to note, Amy, that China seems to be stepping up
Yeah.
its own propaganda. Its own attempt to win
Yeah.
hearts and minds, at least in Southeast Asia. We monitored a post on social media of that media unlocked video post nila, but in a different language. This time, not in English,
Bahasa.
but in Bahasa Indonesia. In Bahasa. Indonesian language. So parang there's also an attempt to propagate or amplify the Chinese position as far as this dispute in West Philippine Sea is concerned.
actually, Bok, may nakapansin kasi, baka we can play the video again. We were playing it kanina. May mga nakapansin na parang hindi nagsisync yung audio at video ng mga labi. So there were some people saying na mukhang AI generated yung at least yung audio if not the video. So yun ang lumalabas. Yun ang allegations. But if you
This one, we're talking about
right.
this video, yes.
But if you look back to some of their previous posts of the same group na Media Unlocked, they acknowledge naman that they use AI audio to generate more languages to superimpose on their
Right,
on their video.
So they are stepping up their own air war or propaganda war. And interesting dito sa video, this is the video where they said that Filipino fishermen will
deliberately falling into the water.
para may makunan daw yung mga cameras. Yeah.
Medyo ano nga lang yun, medyo.
Kaya dahan-dahan yun kapag kapag yung call of nature, talagang they will fall into the water, di ba? Sinasabi ni Gretchen
Medyo kakaiba naman yung claim na yun.
Alam mo, yung mga figure na yun ng tao, mukha kang AI generated, anong tingin ninyo?
Hindi, totoong tao ata yan.
Pati yung
Totoong tao yan. Bok.
Totoong tao yan.
Yeah. Yung boses
Ayan,
nila
hindi ba mukhang Hindi ba mukhang AI yun?
Ikaw talaga.
Hindi ba mukhang AI yun? Masyadong perfect. Look at the image.
Ikaw naman, yung mga Koreano mo,
Wala
ay masyadong
man
perfect, hindi
ano.
naman sila AI.
I think the language dubbing
Wala
uses
lang.
could be using artificial intelligence, which is a common practice man in a lot of videos that you find on YouTube or on other social media platforms. But yeah, so they're translating it to different languages, parang ganon.
Yeah. And I think they also used AI to tweak the accent kasi there were some comments, I understand from their previous post, there were some comments saying na masyadong nawala yung Chinese accent dun sa previous AI version. I mean, kahit pa paano kasi they want to address several audiences at the same time. Without being too, I suppose, without being too masyadong...
Ayan, tingnan mo yung tsura, Hindi mo masyado makinis
Pag
siya.
unang puntirin yung itsura, ikaw talaga. Mukha lang talaga sila mga puputi.
Remember, nagkaroon tayo ng AI dito, ha? Nagkaroon tayo ng AI-generated announcement, di ba?
No, Jimmy
Parang gano'n na
has,
itsura. And it's interesting na they're doing it in Indonesia. They have a territorial conflict, maritime conflict with Indonesia.
They do, but what's
Mas
interesting,
matinding
Ami,
response
is that
sa kanila,
in a recent
mas matinding response sa kanila ni Widodo.
Right. Pero alam mo, Ami, what's interesting is despite their own dispute with Indonesia, the recent survey conducted by Nikkei magazine, which is based in Japan, shows that medyo Indonesia, ang sentiment has tipped in favor of China against the U.S. when it comes to this conflict in the South China Sea. So may ganun tipping point. Probably, I'm only guessing, probably because, alam mo, yung fast train ng Jakarta ngayon, gawa ng China.
Pero I think it also helps, it helps na China is not able to, bully Indonesia in the West Philippines
Because they're not
Sea.
that, they're not that close.
And also, Indonesia captures, apprehends their boats and blows them up.
Okay.
So in that sense, parang nagmukhang kawawa talaga yung Chinese. I think that's also a
And they
factor.
destroy.
That's a factor. But
They
ako, Bok, I still think that
mga intruding ships.
the trains matter a
Sisira
lot.
nila.
The fast trains in Jakarta, if you see the fast trains of Jakarta right now, grabe, napakaganda. I wonder if
yung trains
public
matter,
sentiment here would change also if natuloy yung mga railway project na pinangako doon panahon ni Duterte.
Yung North,
yes,
North Rail.
North Rail.
Oo. Yung
Kaso
nabahura
dito,
sa
puro
skandalo.
lahat ng infra nila dito, tinamahan ng skandalo.
Yun.
Nagkaroon ng corruption scandal. Yan ang problema. Kaya remember, lahat ng mga big ticket, halos lahat. Kaya hindi umandar-andar. Ang umandar lang yung regalo nila yung regalo nilang bridge over that, yung Chinatown Bridge.
Australia.
The
Sa Australia.
The two bridges, Ami. One near Rockwell and the other one across the Pasig River, also in Binondo. Those two bridges.
Yes, yan. Yan, maraming turista ron. Yan, walang iskandalo yan. Pero maiksi lang.
Bigay. At least
Donation
bigay yun.
eh.
Bigay. Donation talaga.
yun eh.
Donation talaga yun. We're still waiting for Coast Guard spokesman.
Commodore Tariela.
Commodore Tariela.
We understand. We want to ask him several things among them, of course. What's going to be our rules of engagement, if you want to call it that? How far do we push and how do we respond?
Ano rules of engagement? Kung tinitira yung bangka mo ng may katig kapag tinitira ng water cannon, ano yun?
Hindi.
Hindi ka na
Let me
makakalaban
rephrase.
doon.
Rules of disengagement.
Yun.
When do you disengage? Petrer.
It's important to note,
Kapag talagang tapalong ka sa dagat.
It's important to note, Ami, Bok,
tapalong ka sa dagat, saan ka pupunta?
that they will be at least 30 nautical miles away from Bao de Masinloc. So they're not going to push all the way to the reef.
Malayo pa yun.
So
That's only
malayo
2/3
sila.
of the way.
Oo. They've decided to keep a safe distance, ika nga,
Yeah.
right? At pag nakita nilang gumagalaw na towards them yung Chinese Coast Guard or Maritime Militia, mukhang that's the time for them to take the cue from the Coast Guard to turn back.
Iitsa yung mga magulong media.
Yun, oo. But they've made, I think Atin ito has made their objectives clear, which is it's enough that they will sail despite warnings from China. No, we see the warnings through their newspapers. They will sail. They will drop the buoys at the red line, defining our territorial waters. They will distribute fuel and food to the fishermen. So yun lang. I think it's a show of It's a show. It's basically a show.
But I
Show-
think China's
show
been
flag.
trying to make an issue out of the lack of spontaneity.
Yeah.
Na parang this was all planned.
Well, it is.
It is. Talaga eh.
And it's political. It is
It's
political.
not
It is
supposed to be
political.
spontaneous to begin with. Kasi some of them are making an issue out of, ba't di nila ibigay yung gasolina sa
Support.
But I
it is,
suppose
it
that's the
is.
message that it's our EEZ. We should be free to go wherever we feel like
Right,
going
right.
Yes.
and distribute goods wherever we feel like
Right.
going without asking for permission.
Yeah.
That I think is the message.
Kaya organize natin. Sila nga mas organized yung mga swarms nila eh. Hindi ka naman basta-basta pwedeng gumawa ng swarm of 200 large fishing vessels, militia vessels, backed by their Coast Guard, which is under their military. Mas organized naman yon.
It's also
Wala
not...
ba tayong karapatan mag-organize ng ano? Kung yung tourist excursion natin, ino-organize yan pa.
At saka, no, Bok, I think we
Bakit?
need to point out the significance of Bajo de Masinloc. It's so close. It's much
Yeah.
closer to Philippine mainland
Yeah, 120
than
nautical
Ayungin.
Oh, yeah.
Than Ayungin, number one.
Yes.
Number two, Bajo de Masinloc has been appearing in Philippine maps from
Yes.
centuries ago.
Spanish
From Spanish
period.
time maps. Bajo de
Spanish period.
Masinloc
Although,
has
you know,
been a traditional fishing ground of Filipino fishermen.
May assertion ng China dyan, ha?
Ano yun?
Why is it that Scarborough Shoal is not in your maps published by Namria?
It's a good point.
Namria,
point.
yung National Mapping and Resource Agency, the one that publishes our official maps. Well, that was the assertion of at least one senior Chinese official.
Bakit nga ba? Bok?
I can't answer that.
I remember when we had ADG Jonathan Malaya here months back, and he did say that they would submit to the president, to Malacanang, a proposed a map really defining
Ayun,
Philippine
iniintay
territory.
yata. Ayun,
Oo.
oo.
Nothing ever came out of that. We never heard
Parang
from
backburner siya
ADG
eh.
Malaya ever since. Because I can imagine, Bok, if we do come up with a map talaga defining as part of officially Philippine territory, those disputed areas, it would create a lot of ano.
But also kasi
trouble.
may problema rin dyan eh. If you revise the old maps, do you include Sabah or not? And
Exactly,
if you don't include
exactly.
Sabah, is that like
Binigay mo na, it's a
Set
tacit,
up naman to,
it's a tacit
so may mga kadikit na problema, I suppose.
oo. Masyado komplikado.
In the
Masyado
long term.
komplikado.
But
So
Pwede
now we
naman
understand
natin
why that
i-drawing lang
map
yung
never
ating,
came out.
Pwede natin i-drawing yung linya rin. Pareho ng China, meron silang 9-dash line. Di lagay din natin, ito yung ating 12
7,100
miles from
dash.
yung 200 nautical miles from ganito. Pwede naman ilagay yun. Kasama dun sa area map yun eh.
Is it
Di
the
ba?
reason why it's called 9-dash line?
What is it?
Na it's not a hard claim, kumbaga.
Kaya hindi siya, it's a broken line.
It's a broken line.
Even China naman is not clear exactly what it represents.
Yes.
Diba? I keep coming across that. Parang there really is no official description of 9-dash line.
So we could similarly come up with our own dash line.
Yeah,
That might include Sabah, parang ganun.
that's easy to do naman. It's a matter of enforcement eh.
Yun.
China can enforce theirs. Can we enforce ours?
Yun.
Another example there. Yung
Claim.
Sabina Shoal, that was in the news over the weekend. Yung Sabina Shoal dun sa
Yes.
near Ayungin. May findings na may panibagong tambak ng mga crushed corals doon. Apparently, sabi ng Coast Guard natin, there's signs of island building. Possibly by China doon sa Sabina Shoal. It's important. Nobody really hears of Sabina Shoal that much. It's called a shoal in Philippine lingo. It's important kasi it's along the way. It's right between BRP Sierra Madre and Ayungin and Palawan. In fact,
Yes.
pag nagre-resupply mission nga tayo, yung mga barko natin dumadaan sa tapat ng Sabina Shoal. So if China,
Ang istorya nga ngayon, nagpadala ng warship ang
Yeah.
Philippine Navy
yeah,
to guard
to
Sabina
guard Sabina
Shoal.
Shoal.
Yan ang story ngayon. Tapos yun na nga, pinag-aaralan daw ng DOJ kung anong pwedeng gawin doon sa Escoda Shoal dahil nga, tingin nila,
Yan, that's the video.
nagtabak nga daw ng dead corals yung ng dead corals doon sa Escoda. Kaya pinag-aaralan ngayon kung anong mga options natin.
Kasi if China is able
So, yan,
to
hinihintay din natin.
to construct an artificial island on Sabina Shoal, then that will
Yes.
interfere directly with our resupply missions. That's one. Number two, kung magtayo nga dyan sa Sabina, yung BRP Sierra Madre ay yung Shoal will be sandwiched between Sabina Shoal on the east and Mischief
Yes.
Reef on the west. Two artificial islands sandwiching the BRP Sierra Madre.
Sabina Shoal was the point where your Christmas convoy
Malapit doon.
turned around.
Approaching. Kasi yun ang rendezvous point usually ng mga resupply boats natin pupuntang BRP Sierra Madre. Also, not only that, it's to the south lang of Recto Bank, which everybody
Yes.
wants to get.
Because of the oil, potential
Supposedly
oil deposits in
Oo.
that
The
area.
minerals.
Everyone wants to explore that area.
Kaya
It's parang the
hindi
entrance to Recto Bank.
maumpisa-umpisan yung oil exploration.
So yun,
Although
patong-patong yan.
merong proposal nga dyan dati, di ba, na mag-joint exploration. So,
Yeah.
I guess walang mangyayari dyan ngayon. Joint exploration with China, actually. Yung binabalak sa Reed Bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kaya lang.
Eventually, di ba? In-announce ni Teddy Locsin na we're withdrawing from that agreement with
Oo.
China. So, yun. Those are
Pero
the...
actually, ang sinabi, kung pumayag daw ang China, it will be a tacit acknowledgement ng claim natin eh. Kaya medyo ayaw din ng China, actually.
Yeah.
Merong aspect yun, yung yung agreement na yun for joint exploration na hindi rin pumayag ang China. So, ayan.
Ayun. I think, unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to get Jay Tariela today. Mukhang malabo na talaga.
It's probably busy day for them.
Yeah.
Okay, with everything that's happening.
Kinukulit ng atin to. Okay, I guess that's it for today. Anyway, we've had a full, it's a full hour this afternoon. So,
Gusto yung banggitin na sabi yung report ng PSA, Philippine Statistics Authority, 11 million students are not in school.
Wow.
11 million school children are not in school.
Any reason,
yan.
Amy?
Hindi ko pa makuha yung mga detalye pero napakalaki nun.
that's how many percent of the
Laki-laki.
school age children?
Yes.
Teka, ha?
Ang laki, ang
Ilang
laki.
percent yan?
So iniintay ko yung detalye niyan na kani-kanina lang yung istorya niyan. And it's PSA.
Okay.
Hindi naman siguro dahil sa init Hindi
There
ko-
are
wala.
there are 27.56 million public school students and
Yes.
1.44 million
Enrolled.
private school students. So ilan yan?
11 million is
11 million?
Like
Wait, that's
11
almost a
million
third.
tong binanggit eh. Kaya sabi ko
close to a
napakalaki.
third, right?
That's almost 1 out of every
Napakalaki.
3.
Iniintay namin yung...
Teka, pag sinabi mong wala sa school, ibig
That's
sabihin
basic
hindi pumapasok
education,
o
yung
hindi makapasok.
27 million mo.
Bok, when you say hindi
Iniintay
po...
pa namin yung
Okay, sige.
PSA PSA. Iniintay ko. Wala
Sige,
ba
let's
dyan
watch out
sa
for
ano
that.
mo? Yung detalye, iniintay ko nga detalye. It's PSA
Okay. Thank you for
Sobrang
joining
laki,
the
no?
Storycon today. Amy Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star.
And thank you for leaving us another story that is alarmist. Sorry.
Thank you,
Cause for
Adam
alarm.
Patrick.
Cause for alarm. Coming after the test na 9 out of 10 students are not able to read.
Bine-verify.
Okay, for verification.
Thank you,
Maraming salamat.
thank you.
Amy Pamintuan ng Philippine Star from Parañaque. Thank you, Amy. Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Patrick Paez, and we are One News, all sides, all the time. This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.